You seized and froze bank accounts. The Federal Court of Appeal said that was unconstitutional. Any regrets?
Got another jam-packed one for you here today. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Chrystia Freeland now being hounded outside the WF. You got Donald Trump giving his speech. Quite a long speech. We're not going to go through most of it. Just a couple key points here. One where he directly blasts Mark Carney. He threatens him for his lambasting speech the previous day. Trump also addresses the situation of Greenland. Got a bunch of other stuff. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got Marty up north posting this. So right off the Prime Minister's website here. Prime Minister Carney to hold winter cabinet planning forum focused on the economy, affordability, and security. Let me guess, they're going to have this in a luxurious palace somewhere, some chateau, and they'll waste hundreds of thousands of dollars of our money doing this and achieving nothing. Carney is preparing for a spring election. I think he's trying to drum up as much fear from Donald Trump's try to scare the Liberal voters once again into another election, hoping to get a majority. That's why he full-on attacked Donald Trump in his speech yesterday. Mark Carney has nothing good to run on. He's achieved almost nothing, basically. A couple very weak deals. He's going to go back to his original playbook of just running on fear. We got Melissa posting this one. GFL announces relocation of headquarters to the US. Who's GFL? They're the fourth largest environmental services company in North America. And they say they're moving their headquarters to Miami due to stock indexes. And what this tells us, it's not like the entire company is folding up and they're leaving. If they left Canada, they'd have to pay a huge exit tax. So they're not doing that. They're keeping their corporation in Canada and their operations. 2/3 of their business is in America, but they're moving their headquarters to Miami because Canada's economy is going nowhere. They need to go bigger, and it's not Canada. There's no future in Canada. And that's why we saw Brookfield Asset Management do the exact same thing. By doing this, they're saying something about our economy, just the same way Mark Carney voted to move Brookfield's headquarters to America. Got this one from David Coletto. This is quite interesting here. We've got trust in different political leaders, and the most important one is cut off, and that's Pierre Poilievre on the left here. The blue is CPC base and CPC voters and accessible CPC. The green is basically liberals and NDP, basically everyone else. And then the gray is all together. See Stephen Harper on the right. The blue here is his trust with the Conservatives. Justin Trudeau is rock bottom here. Actually, surprisingly, the accessible CPC is that high. These are basically swing voters. Danielle Smith, Doug Ford, Donald Trump, Mark Carney, and we got Pierre Poilievre. Look how high this is here. You'll notice the swing voters, this light blue, doesn't change across the board all that much. But this is why they want to get rid of Pierre Poilievre. They know that he's a very strong conservative leader with conservative values, and they don't like that because in a Canada today that is doing so awful, and you're seeing examples around the world where conservative leaders come in and then the country suddenly prospers after a year or two of real leadership. This is what the Liberals are afraid of because they're awful at running the country. They're great at politics and all the dirty tactics. They're very bad at running the country. Basically, the only reason they do it is, well, they get rich from it. They're greedy people. We got Coletto dropping another one here. Current vote intention, all Canadians. It's basically tied. Baby boomers, obviously more liberal because boomers grew up with CBC and then they just continued that along and then CBC became very corrupt. Non-boomers, you see that drop. They got boomer men and women here. This is just a case of the truth having to get out. You're not going to get it from the CBC. So unless the older population that's still watching CBC every single day somehow gets news from somewhere else, they need a son or daughter to say, hey, stop watching that stuff. It's not true. It's going to take something real big to snap people out of their habits and traditions they've had for 20, 30, 50, 60 years. We've got Melissa posting this one. Food inflation rose 6.2% from 2024 and 5% rise at the grocery stores. Where's the real relief for Canadians? And well, there is none because all the relief that we could be getting is being sent over to other places, being wasted on McKinsey and wasteful consultants, foreign affairs spending. We shouldn't be wasting all this money, but of course, Mark Carney doing everything possible to enrich Brookfield. And we also see that on the food professor's post here, Canada 6.2%, the highest, Japan 6.1, you see America 3.1, Germany 1.4. Moving ahead, we've got Donald Trump laying it out straight, his take on Greenland, what he plans to do there. This falls in line with exactly what I've said in the previous 4 or 5 videos. He's going to make an offer. There's no military force. The media, of course, is running hysteria 24/7.
We never asked for anything, and we never got anything. We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force where we would be, frankly, unstoppable. But I won't do that. Okay? Now everyone's saying, oh, good. That's probably the biggest statement I made because people thought I would use force. I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force. All the United States is asking for is a place called Greenland where we already had it as a trustee, but respectfully returned it back to Denmark not long ago after we defeated the Germans, the Japanese, the Italians, and others in World War II. We gave it back to them. We were a powerful force then, but we are a much more powerful force now.
I thought I'd show this here. It kind of breaks down the whole quest for Greenland. This isn't a new thing. I believe there's 3 or 4 times America has tried to buy Greenland. 1867, Andrew Johnson explored buying Greenland and Iceland right after Alaska. WW2, FDR, U.S. took over Greenland's defense while Denmark was occupied. 1946, Truman offered $100 million in gold to buy it. The Cold War, Eisenhower, Kennedy, nonstop negotiation for bases, radar, missiles. Post-Cold War, Clinton, Bush, Obama expanded Arctic security and missile defense. 2019, Donald Trump publicly said what presidents discussed privately for 150 years. The U.S. didn't suddenly want Greenland. It's been defending it, negotiating it, and embedding there since the 1800s. This map here is showing all the different military bases and all this stuff. I mean, this comes down to critical minerals, sure, military as well. I mean, they can do the military right now without owning it. There's rumors of an offer coming. We'll see what happens. There's quite the funny moment that came from Alexander Stubb. This is the president of Finland, basically saying that they don't really need America. They can defend themselves, and then flip-flops on that about 11 minutes later.
First is a direct answer to the question of this panel. Can Europe defend itself? My answer is unequivocally yes.
Without the Americans?
Without the Americans, I mean...
How?
Well, look...
But you're relying on them for these key elements. You said earlier that Europe can defend itself without the Americans. If it comes down...
not exact, Mike, so that's not a quote.
More or less, more or less.
Let's...
we'll go back to the transcript. More or less, more or less.
I love journalists.
But if it comes...
First is a direct...
In his full response there, he talks about how Finland bought 45 F-35 fighter jets and how they have bunkers for 4 million people in Finland. And there's a whole reason why he said they can defend themselves. That's why he pulled back. He's like, actually, yeah, we need America. I've shown this graphic before. This is why. America is just so powerful. Finland's president doing his impression of a Democrat. Moving ahead, we've got Mark Carney lying. Once again, Reclamaire posting this one. I only posted a couple of Carney's lies in my previous video. A good portion of the things coming out of his mouth are not true. They're embellished or cherry-picked data.
Nordics plus Canada, it's 20% of global GDP.
GDP of Nordics, Canada, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Iceland, Finland, is 2.37% of global GDP.
So once again, another lie, not 20%, as Mark Carney said. And just to show you that more in depth, we've got it down here. So I've added them all. And just in comparison, I've got the Nordics plus Canada plus the United States. We're looking at GDP on PPP's purchasing power parity, and the United States has 14.5%. If we look at nominal GDP, America would be around 26%. But if we remove America from here, we're left with just all the Nordics plus Canada, as Mark Carney said. And yeah, so once again, Mark Carney lying. People looking at nominal GDP, it doesn't matter what calculation you get. It's not 20%. Carney lied on stage as usual. Moving ahead, we got Chrystia Freeland getting grilled by Ezra Levant on her breaking the law, invoking the Emergencies Act, taking away Canadians' rights, and not getting punished for it.
Why did you freeze bank accounts of Canadians?
Well, that's a good question that I don't think you've ever answered. The Federal Court of Appeal recently ruled 3-0 that your decision was unconstitutional. Do you regret that? You seized and froze bank accounts. The Federal Court of Appeal said that was unconstitutional. Any regrets? No regrets. Do you have an apology for the people whose bank accounts you illegally seized? Are you still happy about it?
I'm proud of standing up for Canadians.
Are you proud of breaking the law? That's the charter you broke, ma'am. That's not just any old law.
Get her, Ezra. They need to be tried and charged. They broke the law. They took away Canadians' rights, and now Canadian taxpayers are going to be on the hook for paying for all this stuff. I mean, all these costs should be siphoned from their own bank accounts. I'm grateful that he does this. They both need to be found arrested and charged. People need in huge numbers demand justice for political crimes. I mean, this is a political crime. What they did there, they broke the law. They need to at least go to a court and be tried for breaking the law. Politicians, especially at the top, should not be immune to breaking the law. Moving ahead, we've got Donald Trump here dropping the hammer on Mark Carney. Mark Carney thought he'd be coy and funny, taking shots at Donald Trump. More realistically, it's his political strategy to try to get a majority. Notice Donald Trump wearing an American flag. Mark Carney never putting a Canadian flag on his suit. Donald Trump doesn't mention him much, but boy, does he send a message here.
All we want from Denmark for national and international security and to keep our very energetic and dangerous potential enemies at bay is this land on which we're going to build the greatest golden dome ever built. We're building a golden dome that's going to, just by its very nature, going to be defending Canada. Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements. What we did for Israel was amazing.
Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements. Donald Trump putting him on notice, threatening him. Next peep that comes out of his mouth, he's not going to be so kind. I don't think this is going to go over well in the next couple days or next couple weeks. Donald Trump obviously wrapped up with Greenland to that situation. When he's done with that, he's going to come back at Carney. And I think that's what Carney wants. He wants, the scary Donald Trump, because nothing has really rallied Canadians or scared Canadians or just caused Canadians to be completely illogical about their decisions in life than Donald Trump. That's what we've seen from the polls. That's what we see where people are leaning towards China just because of Trump, which is ridiculous. China is a dictatorship. They'll throw you in jails just because of your beliefs, your thoughts. If the LGBT community, the NDP and all of them think they're going to have a good time under a communist dictatorship led by Xi Jinping, good luck. Careful what you wish for and how close you get to China. Not to mention other places like in the Middle East where they end people who are gay.
But that's nothing compared to what we have planned for the United States, Canada, and the rest of the world. We are going to build a dome like no other. We did it. We did it for Israel. And by the way, I told Bibi, stop taking credit for the dome. That's our technology. That's our stuff. But they had a lot of courage, and they were good fighters, and they did a good job, and we wiped out the Iran nuclear threat like nobody can believe.
So Donald Trump pushing for the Golden Dome, he wants to protect the whole thing. Obviously, the first piece of that is Greenland. Realistically, I think he probably thinks he can get Greenland, but he won't get Canada. Canada's not going to join America, and he's not going to force us to, and they don't have enough money to buy Canada. It would be way too big of an expense. But Greenland, they can definitely get that one. Even $700 billion. America could afford that. It would obviously be very expensive. That's the rumor going around, $700 billion. Now here we've got them reacting to what Donald Trump just said about Mark Carney, putting him on notice here on CBC.
That from the president about Canada and Mark Carney's speech yesterday. I want to bring in Mike Crawley, our correspondent in Washington. Well, there you have it. He was watching Mark Carney, and that's what he said. What was behind that?
Certainly sounds like a veiled threat there, Susan, doesn't it? Better watch himself next time he speaks. Look, I think it's interesting that Carney's speech has been, brought to Trump's attention. Is obviously, Canada isn't necessarily the biggest thing on his mind at the moment, but...
Yeah, it's Greenland. And as this guy just said, Carney better watch himself next time he speaks. This is what I fear. They're going to keep doing this. This is going to keep getting spread. Carney's going to keep poking the bear. That's why he went over to China, did the deal with Xi Jinping. Maybe somebody should be interviewing Michael Kovrig, ask about his time being jailed in China. And what came of this? Mark Carney got snubbed by Donald Trump. That's right, no meeting. Trump just buzz off Carney. Canadian PM Mark Carney departed Davos without meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump despite clearly overlapping schedules. No meetings for Mark Carney. Of course not. And Carney didn't want the meeting. He doesn't want a deal. He said he can handle Trump. He's not handling Trump. Mark Carney doesn't care about Canada. He only cares about his own bank account. We got more from Vox Populi, who did the Trudeau interview. He's got another one here with European central banker Christine Lagarde, who's refusing to justify at Davos why she wanted to make cash transactions over 1,000 euros illegal. This is just another WF elitist here. Look at this.
Christine Lagarde, can I ask why you want to make paying for things in cash over 1,000 euros illegal?
I'm not giving any interview, but thank you for trying.
No, I don't necessarily want an interview, but it's the people of Europe want to know why they can't use cash to a certain extent, because some would suggest that's about a control and the state taking charge over what people can and can't spend their money on. That's a fair question.
Banknotes will always be available. We're working on this, and we will continue working on making sure that that's available for people.
But do you still believe...
End of the story. Thank
One
you.
last question. Do you still believe that people...
She's just like all the rest of them. Won't answer questions. Doesn't give a crap about the people. He's got another one here of North Carolina U.S. Senator Thom Tillis on Donald Trump, whether he supports the WF.
What's Trump's position on the WEF at the moment? Is he still anti, or is he for the WEF? You seem very anti-globalist.
Well, let me put it this way. I represent the Article 1 branch, and we're very supportive.
Okay, interesting. When I asked him, do you support the WEF? Does Trump support the WEF? They say yes, which kind of feeds into some people's fears that maybe this Republican government isn't as pro-America first as they think.
That is a very bizarre response from that senator. Moving ahead, we've got Melanie Joly says the quiet part out loud. What the Liberals are doing, the fact that Canadians don't trust the WF, she says it right here. I don't know why they brought her with them.
Well, I think, as a government, for us, we look at everything, all the levers I've talked to you about, diversification. I've talked to you about like real industrial policy on, we're coming up with things on auto, on the defense and industrial strategy. We're looking at a new AI strategy, etc. But fundamentally, when we, develop all these policies, we have to govern a nation and we have to bring people along. And we have that responsibility in a very turbulent and chaotic world right now, with a lot of anxiety, with a lot of frustration, where people think things are costing too much. And so, and they're fearful and are not necessarily trusting people, necessarily at this forum. There's a real issue of people being preoccupied, whether they're becoming powerless. So my point is it's giving this idea to people that we are in control.
They want to give us the idea that they're in control. They know that Canadians don't like them at the WF. They don't like that institution, that we don't trust them. They want to give us the idea that they have a plan, that they're in control. She's saying it out loud here.
That we're dealing with things that in this chaos, we have a plan, that we have all the levers that will have an impact on their lives. And fundamentally, all the policies that I've talked to you about will create jobs, will be helping them to have access to better services, and ultimately also to a promise of themselves and their children to have access to a better life. It comes back to basics, but I think that's what we need to show concretely back home.
She just admitted that it's all about optics. They want to project the image. They have a plan. They're doing something good. They are not. How do they let her speak sometimes? Her ability to pretend she's useful is almost as good as Trudeau.